Hello, and welcome to Town Meeting TV's coverage of Town Meeting Day 2026. My name is Debbie Ingram. This program is part of a series of budget presentations and candidate forums hosted by Town Meeting TV in advance of the Town Meeting Day election, sort of phase 2, which is coming up on April 14th of this year. These forums are made possible by Town Meeting TV's generous underwriting partners. You can find all the forums at cctv.org/TMD2026 or on Town Meeting TV's YouTube channel, where auto-generated captions are available. If you're tuning in on YouTube, be sure to click the subscribe button to stay tuned in to local democracy the entire election season. Now, on tonight's program, you will hear from leaders from the city of Essex Junction. We have Amber Tebow, the president of the city council, and Regina Mahoney, the city manager. We're very grateful to you for joining us. Thank you. And if you're tuning in live, we also welcome your questions at 802-862-3966. If you do call in, we will do our best to prioritize your question, though we'll always screen calls to ensure that questions are not repeated. Now, we should just dive in and let's get started with presentation. I think Regina's going to start us off.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to start off with the budget. We have a number of articles this year. So the first one up is the budget. And this year we are proposing a $12.9 million budget. That is about a 4% increase over FY26. And it equates to $500,000 over last year, or this year. And essentially what that does for the tax rate is increases it by 4.1%. In Essex Junction, our average property value is $280,000. We are undergoing a reappraisal right now. It's very likely this may be the last year we're talking about $280,000 as an average home, but we always present this information based on what the cost impact is to an average home, and so that will be $118 over this current fiscal year. Also in the city, we assess taxes, but we also have a number of enterprise utilities, water, wastewater, sanitation, and then we've got stormwater utility is new this year. And so FY27 will be the second year of the stormwater utility. The council for the last couple of years has been asking us to show what is the overall impact to residents in the city, and so you can see overall that's about $244 over FY26 for residents. The utility side of the budgets are not voted on by the residents. Those are approved by the city council, and we're still probably 2 months away from getting those final. So those numbers will change, but this is just sort of try to give folks an overall understanding of what will change from one year to the next. This is our different expense categories. So for the most part, that 32% piece of the pie is public safety. That's the police department, fire department, Essex Rescue, and then kind of going down from there is the general government. So that's where the administration is, clerk's office, community development. No, sorry, not community development. They're into Lincoln with me, so I'm scooping them in, but they're not in that budget category. And then the next piece of the pie is public works at 13%, so that's really the streets and sanitation budget, and then transfers and recreation and library, and then some other smaller departments from there. New this year, we've put $30,000 in for economic development. We haven't had an economic development program in the city since we've separated from the town, and so we're really looking to see what that right program for the city should be going forward.
Yes, would that possibly be grants to small businesses or that kind of thing? Is that what you mean by economic development?
Yeah, it's a good question, and so I don't know what I mean by
okay, you're working on that.
Yeah, because We don't have a downtown association program like Winooski or Burlington does, and so it could be something much more like that, or it could be more traditional economic development in terms of recruiting businesses and supporting small businesses. So I think there's a variety of different avenues we can take. So this is the money in FY27 is intended to help us figure out what are those steps and which direction to go. So this is the revenue side of the equation, 76% from residential property taxes, 10% from business, 8% miscellaneous fees, and then 6% is global foundries. So one of the things we've had in the back of our mind this year as we're putting this budget together is knowing that the ratio in this pie can change because of our reappraisal. So we may see some more shift towards residential, or we may see some shift more towards the business and commercial side. So we won't know what that looks like until the reappraisal is done this summer. But that's what our 2020, that's what it really looks like for 2026, and we're assuming for FY27. So just a few other things. I've got a couple more slides here on the budget, but I'm just going to point out a couple of things. The City Council put a strategic plan together for the first time in 2024, and really the intention of that is to try to keep the community focused on some high-level priorities, and it's sort of a cyclical program where we have a retreat with the council in the spring, May or June, and then the council is able to sort of set the high-level direction for staff. We go forward, build the budget based on that, and then hopefully stay aligned in the process. And so this budget is the first time we've sort of seen that system work fully through one cycle. So that's pretty exciting, and we are very quickly here going to be looking to start planning for the retreat for this year.
Right.
So just a few things to point out on the budget. We tried to stay as close to 3% as possible. We've had some good news on health insurance. Overall, those costs came down, which was very exciting to see. And we had from the police budget itself, because they went through some contract negotiations last year, and so we've got those obligations in here.
Yeah, and so personnel and especially healthcare costs for personnel, right, are usually the big drivers, I think, of any of our budgets.
Yes. Yeah. It's really, our staff are probably our best and greatest asset, and it costs the biggest percentage of the budget. But if we didn't have the people, we wouldn't be able to provide the service. So,
right.
Yeah, I think that covers that on that slide also. The other thing that we do, we have a really successful recreation program in Essex Junction. It is our Parks and Recreation program, and about a quarter of that budget exists in the general fund, but 3/4 of Essex Junction Parks and Recreation budget is in a program fund, meaning only the people that are using those services are paying for the costs of that. So we continue to look at that program and see what should be shifted out of the general fund that everybody is paying and more towards the program fund. So we've kind of continued to look at that over the last couple of years.
That would come from fees, for instance, for
Yes.
different things that people participate in.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. Then we've also looked quite a bit at transfers in this last year budget. So the village, and now city, has a very strong tradition of saving for capital planning, which has really served us well and helped us be able to stay ahead of some tricky infrastructure projects. So each of the departments associated with this infrastructure on the general fund side tends to have a expense line item in it that really is the savings that go from the general fund from that fiscal year over to the capital fund to save for those projects. The city started a local option tax in, I'll say 2023, roughly.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. And part of the purpose of bringing that lot fund forward was to help on the capital projects. And so we've seen that now for a couple of years and feel pretty good about what revenue that brings in. And so we've been able to shift the general fund transfer for that down a bit. We also, as a brand new city, have been trying to figure out what our unassigned fund balance actually is at the end of each fiscal year. We have a goal to be at about 15% of an unassigned fund balance to be able to save for emergency, be able to be prepared for emergency situations. And at the end of FY25, we got to 12.5, which was very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. We were at 7 for a couple of years there, so we were a little nervous.
Right.
So we were able to not specifically kind of set some money aside for that in FY27.
Great.
Then those are some of our capital projects that we are preparing for FY27. We're pretty typically have a waterline road project each year as we move through, and a couple of other needs that are a little bit more operational, but are high enough cost-wise to prepare for on the capital side.
All right.
All right.
Regina's
now-
excited she's done.
Yes. Now you're in the hot seat, huh?
Okay. So as Regina said, we have we have a lot of articles this year. We actually have 9. So the second article is asking the public to approve a new public works facility. We're asking for up to $13.9 million. So there is some in the slide presentation there. It'll tell you a little bit about how we got to that number. Some of that is actual putting some number to a square footage for the construction, and also some additional contingencies for design services, construction services, and some soft cost. And it is an initial cost estimate. I guess, like with everything, we hope we can come in under that. So if this is approved, we'll go out and try to find the best rate we can find and the best construction we can find. And because we don't have a final figure, we're giving kind of the 20-year and the 30-year what the potential impact is on residents. And so it's $300 a year where we go with a 20-year loan, and $260 a year for a 30-year loan.
Okay.
And so why do we need a new public works facility? So the current building that we have is beyond serviceable life. It's no longer adequate to support the public works daily operations. The main building that we have dates back about 80 years, and it's outdated materials and just fails to meet any modern standards. It's deficient in storage space, you name it. We're going to see some pictures here. And staff facilities are just inadequate. So we've got some pretty pictures here. In addition, we are also doing tours we just did one yesterday, and we'll be doing one Saturday at between 10 and 11 at the Public Works facility on Jackson Street. I think it's 11 Jackson Street.
Yes.
In the Junction.
Okay, that's March 21st, I believe, is the date, right? Because this show might be showing at different times, right?
Yes.
Would that be the one closest to the election? The only tour
Yes,
that folks can take? Yeah,
yes,
okay.
that is the last tour. We just did 2,
okay.
so that would be the last tour. Yes.
Okay, great. All right.
So Regina is showing the pictures of the
Yes.
current facility.
Okay.
And the challenges that we are up against. So you'll see in that one there, the equipment almost touches the top of the
That's
the building.
That is a tight squeeze.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So the next couple articles are related to work that the governance committee did. So when we separated from the town, when we were presenting the charter to the legislature, we made a decision to kind of keep it as simple as possible, use our old charter, and try to, for the legislature who hadn't done this in 100 years either, as well as our residents. And so we did put into the charter that we would revisit such things as whether we wanted to keep our current governance structure with a city manager, did we want to look at a mayor? It kind of ran all over through what the city council gets paid, the term limits, and so they did come, the governance committee, which was 9 members, including 2 city councilors. They met from March to December and came back with a report, and these next couple articles are directly from the governance committee and all the extensive work that they did. They had a pretty lengthy report that's available on the city's website. But Article 3 is asking whether to approve the annual minimum pay raise from $2,500 to $3,600. Article 4 is to provide for the city council president a 25% stipend that's higher than the other members of the city council. 5 is to approve an amendment to the city charter that would adjust the stipends annually based on Consumer Price Index or CPI, rather than the city council setting that limit themselves. And 6 is whether we should require a comprehensive charter review every 12 years. So that would require it every 12 years, but we could certainly go back and do amendments to the charter at any point in time.
Okay.
Article 7 is a planning loan through the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund for lead service line inventories. So this loan amount would not exceed $892,771 and would be financed for up to 10 years. And the expected repayment would be about $400,000 is the hope with some of the loan forgiveness programs and such that are available for this program. And this is an EPA rules that are requiring us to go out and conduct further investigation. We did some investigation into all of the pipes in the city over the last couple of years. I think we finished it maybe a year ago. And now the new rules require that even non-lead service lines and need to be reviewed.
And this is a safety concern, then, public health.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Article 8 is whether we should create a social services funding program and a 1-cent tax to support local social service organizations. That is a mouthful. Addressing things like health, housing, and food security. So when we were with the town back to 1987, we did support this type of program through our town taxes. And so this would be a 1 cent, which would generate approximately $113,000 based on the FY26 grand list, and would again support those folks. Support social health and human services in Essex Junction.
Okay. And many municipalities, just tell folks, many municipalities have this same kind of thing, and we try to, the government, the civic, and the municipality tries to help the nonprofits that are doing other work to help their citizens. So,
Yes.
yes, yeah.
And the last article is whether to approve or not approve accepting postmarks as proof of on-time tax payment. Okay. And this one is generated for a different number of different reasons, including the fact that the Postal Service has unfortunately been a little less unreliable, and we're getting tax payments sometimes weeks after the due date. And because our city charter doesn't specify how tax payments are accepted, we need to go through this process to ask the community whether we should accept postmarks or not. We do not accept postmarks for utility payments. Those are due on the day that they're due, and if not, then they receive a penalty.
Right, okay. So yeah, most people would call these sort of housekeeping articles, right?
Yes.
They're things that you need to work out to make sure that the city runs well and is governed properly.
Yes, that is a good analysis of it.
Right, okay, great.
So ballots are not going to be automatically mailed to everybody. So if you want to get a ballot, you can, and because you don't want to come to voting at Champlain Valley Exposition. I always want to call it CVE, but not everybody knows the CVE term. So voting is April 14th from 7 to 7. But if you would like to cast your ballot beforehand, you can certainly call or email the clerk's office. The information is on the slide here, and then request a ballot, and those will get mailed to you. And just a reminder that, again, as we just said, the post office, leave a little bit of time for to make sure that the returned ballot gets to us. We also have a secure drop box right outside of 2 Lincoln Street that you can put it in instead of putting it in the mail.
Great, great. Okay, good. Well, so the city is relatively new, isn't it? Maybe we can chat about that for a minute. I think Regina, you said you've been on for like three years now or so. You are the first city manager that this municipality has ever had, right?
Yeah.
So, can you talk just a little bit for our viewers about how that transition has been and what that has involved?
Yeah, it's been really an interesting process. The 2 communities of the town and the village really had been in conversation and talks about potentially merging for quite a while. And so in reality, a number of departments did actually merge and come together over time. And so when we separated for the city, there was some we need to create some systems on the city side. So a lot of the first couple of years were actively doing that, from IT to finance and a whole slew of things. So at this point, we're feeling great. We're up and running and really have managed that process well, and at the same time done some pretty significant projects, including the Crescent Connector, the new road. There are not many new roads built, Champlain Parkway in Burlington being one of them, and Crescent Connector in Essex Junction, and that road is up and open and working great. We also have renovated the 2 Lincoln building, which is an over 200-year-old building, and just a really great space, a community space right there in our, what everybody knows of as Essex Junction, the 5 corners. And so that's been really wonderful, and it's a much more welcome, open place when you come to do your business with the city. So yeah, it's been great. And we did that strategic planning process to try to really help figure out, okay, now what's next? Because there's a gazillion things, awesome things we can do, and so it's helpful to stay focused.
Right. Yes. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Amber, from the point of view of the city council, has you don't have a ton of people on your city council isn't huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Not Burlington, yes.
No, right. Exactly. Yeah. So has that been has that added pressure to city council members to try to navigate this transition?
Yeah. So we have a total of 5 city councilors, and I am the only city councilor still remaining from separation. So I was a trustee at the time that we went through the charter and the separation piece. So I think it doesn't add. It's just a different day, and it looks a little different than it did 3.5, almost 4 years ago. But I think, as Regina said, having the strategic plan, having this retreat, and just setting our priorities, because it is so easy to there is a million things going on. Just kind of keep us on the straight and narrow.
Right. And we were talking beforehand that it might be that in successive years your town meeting day date will maybe change so that it's more in line with the rest of the state. Basically, is that looking ahead? Is that something you think might happen?
Yeah, so the village of Essex Junction, now city, has traditionally always voted with the school district, Essex Westford School District. And so that has been in April and not the traditional town meeting day. The school district is asking their voters on the same day, April 14th, folks can vote on whether to change the school district annual meeting in 2027 to town meeting day. The city side, we're sort of prepared for this potential adjustment, and we made a charter change that allows the city council to set the annual meeting date rather than having to ask the voters. So the city council is more nimble, and so if the school district vote shows a change towards town meeting day, the council will be able to consider that on their own and be prepared for 2027.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, and so just in the interest of summing up and giving our viewers something to take home with them, so could you just tell us what the overall budget is and maybe the increase and how that affects their property taxes, just briefly?
Yeah, so overall the budget is about $12.9 million. For an average home in Essex Junction, that's about $118 more. Again, that is a number that we anticipate the reappraisal will have a different impact potentially. Essentially with the reappraisal, we will not collect any more money than we're anticipating collecting. It's just a matter of which land use category, grand list category that ends up coming from. So that's what we're expecting right now, is at about $118 more.
Okay, great. Well, thank you both for all that information. That's really important for voters to have. And we thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
So thank you at home for tuning in to Town Meeting TV's ongoing coverage of local candidates, budgets, and ballot items. You can find this and many more forums at cctv.org/TMD2026 or on Town Meeting TV's YouTube channel. Don't forget to cast your ballot on Town Meeting Day on or before April 14th. And then tune in. You can follow the results probably on the city's website or here on our website at Town Meeting TV. Now contact your local clerk to find out how to obtain a ballot, and you can even register to vote on the same day if you need to register to vote. So thank you for watching and sharing Town Meeting TV.